Good morning, my name is Nathan Thornberry. I'm with Residential Warranty Services out of Carmel, Indiana, and I speak all over the place on real estate matters, risk-related, mostly risk management, and about home inspection and home inspection practices. And I have two things that I want you to think about today as we go through this process. One is going to be what makes you a better real estate agent than the next guy. And two is about your risk tolerance and what risk really means in your business and how that applies to, what we do, what kind of decisions we make for our clients. And today we have a very, interesting and diverse group. We have experienced real estate teams that sell tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate. We have a construction guy who's thinking about getting into real estate, is going through his courses now. So we have like every end of the spectrum. And I might pick on you a little bit today and enjoy the process. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start. I need a volunteer. Thank you for volunteering, sir.
Mr. Sir.
Mr. Sir. Mr. Sir. Actually, not just Mr. Sir, because this might get heard everywhere. So Dan McCarty with the McCarty Team Real Estate Rescue. It's a Keller Williams thing. They let you brand yourself a little bit, right? Gary Keller was smart about that. Yeah, for now. All right, so let me ask you a question. Let's just say that you and, I'm going to assume Patty's your wife.
Yes.
Also my mother's name. Hopefully you have very little in common. Really?
True story.
You married someone with your mother's name?
Isn't that weird?
That would get distracting to me in certain circumstances. Oh, Patty. All right.
I call her Mom.
Don't call her Mom. That's even worse. Oh my gosh. All right, but let's just say in an alternate universe, especially since you're like center stage here, that Patty is an independent real estate agent that you don't know. Certainly not having any sort of relations with.
Okay.
All right, and you are in another office. You are going to go to a real estate listing appointment, and you need to do something better than her, right? So, or maybe you're going to represent a buyer, and it's my cousin.
Okay.
Well, what makes you better than Patty? Actually, we'll make it more interesting. We'll keep you and Patty on the same team. Here we have a real estate agent. What's your name, sir?
Russ.
Thank you for volunteering, Russ. All right, so Russ is a real estate agent. He's going to a listing appointment. You are too. I'm your seller. Why are you better than Russ?
We do our homework. We're very diligent. We don't go in and tell people what they want to hear. We do not want a listing. We don't want to lie to somebody and let them down later.
This is going to be fun. So let me summarize the first point.
Yes.
We do our research, we know our stuff, and we set a reasonable expectation.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else?
I have Patty McCarty. I just leave and I let her do the talking.
All right, so you got a secret weapon. You got your very own Patty?
Yeah, very likable,
Okay,
very likable lady.
that's good.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And we have the power of Keller Williams and Gary Keller, who the technology is second to none.
All right, so we have some technology, and so you're like the only Keller Williams agents in town, right, that have access to that technology?
Yeah, we are.
I think you're lying. I think you're lying. And let's be realistic too. I mean, Gary's an interesting guy. I think he's done some good for the real estate industry. I have a ton of Keller Williams agent clients, and I love them all. And I like that they let you do your own branding and stuff. But, let's talk about that technology for just a second. Does it really make you that unique? I mean, maybe it did the first day it came out, but there's a lot of real estate platforms that have similar features now. Can we be honest about that?
We could be honest today.
Okay.
But Q1, we're going to introduce some things that are going to...
That will never, in Q1 we're going to come out with stuff that'll just put everyone else out of business. No one will ever replicate it. Yeah, no, for the first time in real estate history, we're going to get it done. Okay, but other than that, the reason you're better is because you know your stuff and you set a reasonable expectation. Fair?
Fair.
Okay, so Bob, what was your name again? Russ. I'm horrible with names, apologize. Bob Russ. He just called you an idiot. And let me tell you why. He didn't say anything about what he does and his process of real estate to say he's actually better. He just said, here's how I see my competition. They're a bunch of ninnies that don't know how to research anything and don't know anything. And they set unreasonable expectations, buying the listing, as they say, right? That's what, and do we really think that? Who's that agent in this room? Anybody? Anybody going to volunteer that? Okay. So here's the problem with that from a standpoint of marketing and saying you guys are the best, the best. The problem with that is that you didn't give me anything that in 10 seconds I can go, yes, you are the best. Certainly I'm better than, I don't even know his name, and I can tell you he's not different than you in your core business model. Let me go to one other thing though, maybe something we can all agree on. Would anybody say that that real estate is a high liability industry? A lot of heads shaking, yeah, certainly. We're taught this, that we have a lot of liability. So since we're all familiar with what liability is, we know what this room is, correct? All right, anybody? What is it? Never seen one? Patty, is this true? Of course, this is a courtroom, and I recently went to one of these with my son. So I can tell you there's a plaintiff's place and a defendant's place, and you know, you go in there and there's the judge in the middle, and see that guy over there with the tie? Everybody know who that guy is?
Bailiff.
Bailiff, that's right. We're gonna sound like, you know, this is an arena. I realize there's only, you know, 572 of you today, but in this arena, and you sound like, all right, it's a bailiff, and by the way, that is approximately the average physical condition of the average bailiff in America. His job is to keep the peace, make sure that guy doesn't hurt that guy, at least not in the courtroom. Keep decorum, as they say. Also, mostly just delivery of documents from one side to the other. I've spoken in front of at least 10,000 real estate agents, at least. I lost the count after that. And I've asked this question because, you know, we are taught that we're in this high liability industry. We're taught that in a lot of industries. And then we get here, and are we really experiencing high liability? Who in this room has been sued, has been a defendant in that courtroom due to their negligent acts as a real estate professional? Anybody in here? But wait a second, you guys have been selling real estate for how long?
Since 93.
Since 1993. Since Vanilla Ice. And you haven't been sued. Well, but wait a second, you should be like without a house. You should be out on the streets because you got sued because of all that liability. But you said, I mean, your head was like, oh yeah, we're in a high liability industry. Why? Why do we believe that? Here, let me give you some other evidence to the contrary. So you have E&O insurance, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. You're not suicidal, that we know of. So that E&O, does it cost a certain amount of money?
Yes.
How much?
Our broker pays it. I don't even know.
Our broker pays it. Let me tell you what, if you were in the room and you happen to know the number, it'll be $300 to $500 a year. Okay? That's your typical E&O insurance model. So, you know, when you go to a downtown area, except for here in Detroit, where the downtown big building says GM on it, everywhere else in the world, by the way, where there's not a casino, it says a bank on one of the big buildings, and the other big building says an insurance company, right? They're pretty good at making money. So if they're selling E&O insurance to real estate agents at $300 to $500, they've determined that their risk is less than $300 to $500, so that they can build more big buildings, right, and make a bunch of money. So let me give you something that'll just blow your mind, and hopefully everybody at home just accepts this. Otherwise, you know, email me, nathan@nathan.tv. Real estate is the lowest, or amongst the lowest, liability industries in the world's history. Not even close. It's not even, you can't look at any other industry and find where so few people have been sued for so little. It's crazy. But that doesn't mean we want to, you know, not know things. We can kind of kill two birds with one stone here. And we can address the reality of the real liability in real estate. Let me tell you about a very expensive cigarette. All right, this is the best story I can tell you to give you a sense of what a client is worth. I've known an agent since I was a little kid. I say little kid. When we both entered the business 20 years ago, we were sons of real estate. My parents are home inspectors. His mother was a real estate agent. And he got into the business, and he's been selling real estate for like 20, 25 years now. One day he goes in on the weekend to do floor time, but he didn't have to do floor time. He went in to work in his office. There was a guy on floor time. The guy leaves to go outside to have a cigarette. On the way out the door, Andy's in his office there on a snowy Saturday and says, Andy, would you mind picking up the phone if it rings? I need to go outside and have a cigarette. So Andy says, fine. He's being a nice guy. He doesn't have to, but he does it. And the guy goes outside, trudges through like a foot of snow. I tell this story in Florida. I have to, tell him what snow is. But he goes out through a foot of snow, gets in his car and hotboxes 2 or 3 cigarettes. He's out there for 15 minutes. While he's out there, the phone rings. Andy answers it, ends up selling the guy a house. Selling that guy a house. Normal house, no big deal, but gosh, there goes a $3,000 commission. Just over that, that's an expensive cigarette, but it gets worse. His parents sold a house and bought a house with Andy. His cousin, that guy's cousin, and then the nieces bought. The last time I knew the number of gross commissions from that one single phone call during those 2 to 3 cigarettes in a car on a cold day, it was well over $50,000 in gross commissions. So here's what you need to think of when you think of risk management in any businesses. What's the real risk? Is going to court the risk? How much could possibly be assessed to you in the form of damages that would cost you more than losing a referral? Losing a referral is the real liability. And also showing that you're different to your clients involves, showing what you got. And real estate agents love logos and 3-letter words. So we're going to give you 3 letters to put on the back of your name today. All right. This is a certification course. So during the course today, I'm going to ask everybody in the room some questions, and I need to get an answer from everybody in order for you to be, certified by the time we walk out of here. So it's called the Client Protection Expert. And it's basically, knowledge about real estate, home inspection, home warranty, a little bit of homeowner's insurance, and we'll talk about all of them as we go through. So let's start with a little bit about home inspection. Of course, our host today is Blessed Assurance Inspection, and I'm going to take out the word home so that we can make that acronym very easy to say. BAI, buy. So if you're here today and you're using Blessed Assurance, then you're buy. If you're just learning about Blessed Insurance for the first time, you might be buy curious. But I've been working on that all morning. I knew I'd go there. All right, so if you haven't had a home inspection before, though, let me tell you they do a great job, but let me back it up with a lot of things. Let me talk about home inspections in general, too. So this is a picture of what a home inspector loves to do when he comes into a house in a real estate transaction. He loves to get under that sink and look underneath. And why does he do that? Anybody?
For leaks.
He's looking for leaks. I'll tell you why he does it. There's nothing under that sink that's going to cause your people grave concern. There's nothing under that sink that's going to kill the deal. He is probably referred by you as a real estate professional or referred in a list of people. Anybody here give a list of 3 names with their home? Oh, you do? Do you give a list of names? You give 1, don't you?
Terry.
This guy already wins. Let's assume he said 3. All right, you give 3 though, huh?
In my business,
Yeah, give 3. That is, I almost said the word. I couldn't, publish the video if I said it. Yeah, because it'd be so offensive, but it's basically a wussy way to do business. But yeah, so anyway, he goes out and he does this inspection. Your client has been referred, Blessed Assurance home inspections, and they got to show that they're doing something of value. They got to find that leak under the kitchen sink because there's not always a $5,000 issue with the house, luckily, right? So this is a lot of mechanical stuff. They want to make sure everything is good to go. It brings us to our first question, which is, do home inspectors move items inside cabinets to inspect the areas for signs of leaks, mold, and damage to cabinetry? So who says, yes, home inspectors move the stuff? Yes, okay, we have 1 yes. Who says no, they don't move it? All right, mostly no's. Anyone say it's not required? All right, I'll bet it's not required. And guess what? You are right. It's not required is correct. Now, we don't have to, anyone who got it wrong, you're still going to be certified today because we're just going to go through the answer and tell you why not. So this is, I don't know why I get a bunch of pictures from home inspectors. You know, we're a home warranty company. We work with home inspectors. We have an environmental lab down in Florida that is largest in the industry. And we get pictures from thousands of home inspectors, almost always the leaders in their local area, like Blessed Assurance. And every messy under the sink area has a box of Brillo pads. I don't even know what they do, or if anyone's used a Brillo pad, or if they just like did one run of them, sold, and nobody needed to replenish. But they're almost in every picture. And you look at this, and it's obvious there's probably going to be something under here that's dirty, moist, or otherwise, problematic. And here is the standard, okay? When we say standard, we mean a standards of practice. For anyone watching this video at home, it might be a standard by home inspector licensing in some states. It might be a standard by a national association, or even just a standard that an inspector has determined for himself, which is rare, but most of them have this, and they're almost always written exactly like this. The inspector is not required to move any personal items or other obstructions, such as, but not limited to, throw rugs, carpeting, wall coverings, sex toys, furniture, ceiling tiles, window coverings, equipment, etc. Not enough of you caught that. Yeah, you got it? Okay, good. Yeah. But here's the thing, is that your clients sometimes leave their sex toys around. We're not required to move those, and certainly we wouldn't want to touch them. But they don't have to move it. Now, do the guys at Blessed Assurance sometimes move some stuff if there's not much, or if there's some indication of a problem and it would be a good idea at that point, a little bit of extra service beyond those minimum standards for your clients? Absolutely they do. You've seen them do it, right? No, you don't? Okay.
We just met Terry recently.
Oh, well, so you haven't witnessed him do it. Let me give you confidence in this. If there's just a little bit of stuff to move, he's going to move it, or his guys are going to move it, all right? He's got a whole team. So what can be missed? Well, we got leaks, we got mold. If there's ever going to be a place for mold, it's going to be there. And here's something, if you're looking for a reason to refer Terry, I can give you two great ones right now. And by the end of today, I really want you to have a reason why I should be referring you. All right? So, and I want it to be as strong as this. If Terry goes in under a kitchen sink and finds that everything's fine, there's no leaking pipes, there might have been something in the way, but it wasn't that bad, there was no visible mold, etc. And your client moves in, and this is really important that you know this, because they're going to call you when they have a problem. And when they have a problem, how do you deal with it? What is the way of dealing with a problem? There's only 4 ways in real estate.
Solution.
Well, there's 4 ways. Number 1, you can write a check. All right, and that's not fun. Number 2, you can tell them it's a really great day and be all positive about it. Number 3, you can call an inspector back, or a vendor or partner or whoever, and beat them over the head as if that's going to do wonders for your career or theirs. Or 4, you can already have a solution. And here you have a solution built in, and you need to know, and everyone watching this at home, if they're using any home inspector across the country, they need to ask them if they have a 90-day warranty and a mold safe policy with every inspection they do. Because if your client moves in and they find mold under that kitchen sink, as long as it's visible and within the home, my company pays to fix it, to remove it. So know that, have that in the back of your head, and make sure that your clients know about this benefit. Because one, it makes you look good, right? Because you know more about the process than that other guy, than Bob Russ, whoever, right? He doesn't know shit. No, you need to show him up. You can't just say, well, I know more than him. No, I know stuff. Here's another thing, 90-day warranty. If the pipes leak after they move in, hey, that's going to be covered. There's a bunch of things the 90-day warranty covers, and we'll go over it. And just in case you thought I was lying about stuff, have your sellers, let's switch to the other side. Have your sellers move stuff if there's going to be an inspection. All right, they should have a storage unit for the swings and whatever. Because inspectors go in their little Facebook groups and they post all your seller stuff there. You don't want that. All right. So let's get into some real risk management. We might talk a little bit about some of our guests in the room as well, which I think have some very interesting offerings. Never quite seen something like this in all my travels. So you just wrote an offer on a home. And this one, I'm gonna make you guys famous today, Patty, the whole team. I'm gonna make you guys famous today because you're right front and center and very brave. Let's say that you've just written an offer. We're gonna make this real for you. You've just written an offer on a house. The listing agent sends you an email with a PDF copy of a home inspection report. Now, that home inspection report isn't just any home inspection report. It's a home inspection report from 30 days ago. It's from Blessed Assurance Home Inspection. You now have that in your email as an attachment. Here's your question. Should you share that report that was just emailed to you, that was done for somebody else, that was done for a different buyer? There was a buyer on that property, they had an inspection, and their financing fell through because they didn't use best choice lending, right? Which, by the way, if you're, you like them too. I just found this funny. So today, this is going to be like old news by the time it's a YouTube video, but best choice lending, call Michael Cohen. The name you can trust.
I'm the one who's not in jail.
Okay, all right. Well, we're glad for that.
I'm not going to jail.
Name you can trust in finance and mortgage, yes. So they didn't have Michael Cohen at their side, to lie a little bit to the mortgage company, right? Yeah. They didn't have all that. So they didn't close, and they walked. You now have an inspection report from another buyer on that property in your email box from the listing agent. Do you share that report with your buyer? Choices are absolutely not. Yes, of course you should, or it's illegal, they need their own inspection. Who says it's illegal, they need their own inspection? Who says, yes, of course you should? Who says absolutely not? Holy crap, we had the husband and wife team go with two different answers. Now, just out of curiosity, who would win? All right, and your answer was, yes, of course you should. And your answer was absolutely not. So let me ask you, why absolutely not?
As a buyer's agent, you have to have an inspector that is not. Inspectors vary, and we've been on hundreds of inspections, and one inspector could be an alarmist and go crazy, and other one can be just a realist and not trying to just save the deal.
Sure.
Just, so they vary as much as economists vary in my mind. They vary. So if you've got, when you've seen their abilities, why would you, as a buyer's agent, you want the best inspector in there?
Well, but I said it was your guy. It was your guy. Why wouldn't you share it with your buyer?
It's my guy. I thought you said it was somebody else's inspector.
It was somebody else's inspection, but let's say it's another inspector. Let's go with that scenario. You're saying no because you need to have your guy that you trust that can do a good job, and since there could be a difference between their inspection and the inspection you have in front of you, that you need to get your own.
And we also witness inspections, always, one of us too.
All right.
So if you're there and you're present and you've got a good inspector, I wouldn't trust somebody I don't know.
That's good. Well, let's test the knowledge of Russ. Russ, which one did you say?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Only because I'm not sure if it's illegal or not.
Well, but if you weren't sure, you should have gone with the illegal option.
So I know for a fact, because I am a licensed appraiser, that if this was an appraisal, it is illegal. So because it is written, the report is written to the client, it's in their name. It is not for other people's eyes. So for an appraisal, it is illegal. Inspections, I'm not sure if it's technically illegal, but it is not good practice.
At this point, I have to tell you a short story because now I know your name, right? I'm horrible with names. Sometimes I'm horrible with faces. We're in the Christmas season, the holiday season now. Guess I shouldn't call it the Christmas season. The holiday season, we're going to go see family. I see my family like once a year, right? We don't see each other that often, and I'm bad with faces, names, etc. So one day, long ago, I'm on what is referred to as the Magnificent Mile. You guys just have to pay a few toll road fees and you get there. It's right in Chicago, right on the lakefront, and there's some great shopping there and all this stuff. Well, so I'm there, and this is like, I don't know, I think I might have been 26-ish. I'm sitting on a couch in the front lobby of a Gap or Express or something. It was a 2-story lobby, and I'm like 26, and this group of girls comes by. All right, yeah. And they were pretty stunning. Now, at that age, I'm close to the lower age. I don't want to be creepy about anything, but They could have been 18. They could have been 22. They could have been less than 18, but I didn't know. All right, but you never know these days. And they walk by a few times and like they're trying to get somebody's attention. And one of them is particularly unique to me. And I see her and she's got this blonde hair. I mean, like albino blonde hair, and light skin. She's gorgeous, and she's got these blue eyes that are sparkling. And she walks by like 2 or 3 times, and she's really caught my eye. But something in my head is going, something is up with her. And I stopped her. I said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry. Do we know each other from somewhere?" And I'm thinking, I must have seen her. And she said, "Nathan, I'm your cousin Courtney." Now, we're not like kissing cousins, right? I mean, but we could be, because there's no blood relation, okay? It's not that weird. But I also only see her like once a year, so I don't know. I would show her to you, but she blocked me on Facebook. So anyway, here's the thing. Even though I can't remember Courtney's name until that event, and then I never forgot it. I got a call from my step-grandmother, who is the relation there. Anyway, it was a whole mess. But even though I didn't know her name, I still care about her, right? Like if she's going to come here and buy a house, I need to know that somebody is going to represent her very properly. And you, sir, I need to help you with your answers, both on appraisals and on inspections, because you would not be representing her very well. I'm sorry to say it, guys, but Patty's right. Absolutely, you should share that. Yes, of course you should. I don't care if it's an appraisal. I don't care if it's an inspection. I don't care where you thought you got the idea that it's illegal, but that's one of these bad myths in real estate. Let me tell you, a bad myth in real estate. If you think that referring 3 home inspectors will reduce your liability, as an example, that's a bad myth. There has never been in the history of U.S. jurisprudence a situation where a buyer's agent walked into a courtroom for their negligent referral, and that's what they would be sued for, and the judge stops everything and says, "Wait a second, did you offer one inspection company you knew was the best, one that you thought was a little bit worse, and one that sucked even more? Oh, you did. Well, then we're going to dismiss this and move on." Never happened. It's never been a reasonable defense. And we get into these myths too. This is a myth that was largely started by appraisers and by home inspectors, because they believe that they have some ownership of copyright and trademark to it's some ridiculous thing, as if they shot some Pixar film. This is a real estate myth. If you have, and this is where Patty is totally right, I don't want you to sit there and go, "Oh my gosh, there's liability in sharing that report." I want you to be thinking about, what would you do for your own cousin? What would you do for a buyer that you were related to, or that you really would stick your neck out for? And frankly, how can we really avoid real liability? Because let me tell you where there is some very real liability in this scenario. If I'm a buyer, you have an actual report in your email box with notation of a defect that the new guy misses, or that we don't see in a seller's disclosure, or whatever. You had that information. I will find that in discovery, and I will roast you in a courtroom. If you have an appraiser who came in with a much lower valuation and you have it in your email box, you have that information, and you didn't share it with me, that's pretty substantial information, isn't it? All right, let's think about how we treat people. Let's think about the liability behind that, because sometimes we don't want to, take it too far. Now, let me switch things around a little bit and say that on the other hand, you were leading to something that was the right way to think, and I love you for that. That is a a bathroom sink that didn't used to have water that color. This garage door was not in that condition 10 minutes ago. The thing both of these have in common is that these are changes in property condition that can happen over time. So just because an inspection was done 20 days ago or 2 weeks ago, even by your favorite guy, doesn't mean that things can't change. So if the question was, is it a good idea for you to have your buyer get an inspection? Absolutely. And let me tell you about one other thing that happens when you do that. And you can learn all about these things in this beautiful Buyer's and Seller's Guide to the Inspection you have in front of you. Also, in this wonderful brochure that talks about technology used at Blessed Assurance inspections and all the warranties. Here's the other thing. Your buyer owns the warranties and the protection plans when they have their own inspection. So just because you share the inspection doesn't mean they get all the stuff with it. With every inspection, a 5-year roof leak protection plan. What's the value of 5 years of roof leak protection? You know, far exceeds the value of a home inspection, really. So it shouldn't be hard, because you might end up every once in a while with a buyer that goes, gosh, this house has already been inspected. Why do I need to do it again with the same guy? He was just there 20 days ago. Well, because you want to make sure that you have all these protections, so when you have a problem later on and you call me, I can solve it for you. All right, so there's your myth busting. It's not unlawful to receive or share an inspection report. Now, I will give you one other example, and let me just put it out there in a different terms here, or a different scenario. Let's say that you are the listing agent, not the buyer's agent. You have a buyer that comes along, does an inspection with the craziest home inspector in town, and you know the one I'm talking about. You have that report, and it's in your email box. Buyer comes along. Do you share that report with the buyer's agent? Yes or no? It's like, we were recently tricked by you and do not want to participate. Okay, so yes, sir?
Clarification, why did you have that inspection?
Because it was sent to you by the buyer's agent.
Under what pretense?
Who cares? It was sent to you. No, it doesn't matter. It's not a part of the hypothetical. It doesn't matter why you got it. You have it. I, as a plaintiff's counsel, I, as an attorney involved in another matter, can prove that you had it. So we can talk about the different scenarios under which you got it. I'll give you a few very legitimate scenarios. And you know, I'll give you one, all right? If I was a buyer's agent and I had an inspection contingency, and I responded to that inspection contingency with my repair request list, right? Along with a copy of the thing to back up why I want these particular repairs done, that thing I'm sending as backup is the inspection report. You now got it as part of a transaction and part of a customary and typical process. There's no excuse for you not to have it at that point. You should have it. You should be reviewing it. Let me give you another scenario. If I, as the buyer, just instruct via my agent and sign a contract that says all parties get a copy of the inspection report, it could come off automatically from an inspector's server. At that point, you have it. But still, regardless of how you got it, let's just say that you were, this is probably a horrible example because we're adding a different element of like crime, but let's just say you broke into the buyer's agent office and took a USB stick with you and pulled some James Bond shit. Okay, fine. Then you probably should, you know, if you had to admit to some crime to hand it over, I guess I probably wouldn't. But other than that, you have this information. So let's just say hypothetically, you got a report under a circumstance in which it was reasonable for you to get it. You have it, it's in your email box, buyer comes along and makes an offer. Should you send that inspection report to the buyer's agent? Go for it.
My understanding, and I know I came in late and I'm catching up.
It's okay.
Brain is out there. My understanding is if you, as the agent, the listing agent, have been given something in writing, it then has to be disclosed to
Well,
the following parties.
Thank you. So the answer, simply, because mine was pretty binary, right? Yes or no? Yes. Once you have any sort of knowledge of something substantive, doesn't matter whether it was in writing or verbally, or somebody bought a billboard and said, 123 Main Street has a bad roof. Doesn't matter how that information came to you. It came to you, you know about it, so we have an obligation to disclose, don't we? So let me give you your two options if you have an inspection report, and this is just good practice. And let's just say that inspection report is total hogwash. Let's say it's from the guy that is the pickiest guy in town that seems to just be making up stuff as he goes along, and you had a handyman come through and he fixed a bunch of the stuff, and it's really like not even a relevant document anymore. I would still send it to the buyer's agent and say, this came from a previous transaction. We disagree with a few of the things on the list, but we're disclosing that we have knowledge that someone else thought they were a problem. And by the way, here's a few of the repair receipts showing how cooperative we are in making sure that this house can get sold. I would still send it because you have the obligation to disclose. So what's your other option? To go through, read that report, understand every line of it, and retype it. I mean, that's a lot of work. I don't even want to read an inspection report, and I'm in the business. So retyping an inspection report sounds like zero fun. Yes?
I have had chastised me for sending the report. Well, I knew darn well that sending the report then becomes where they have to disclose it. Of course I'm going to send it.
And I think you're bringing up a great point, because we know the other side, having that knowledge, has to disclose it. What do we want to happen with our radon reports? We want them to go to the seller. What do we want to happen with our inspection reports? We want them to go to the listing agent. Listing agent says, oh, I don't want that. Nope, sorry, I already sent it to you, dude. You know, it's in your email box. I agree with you. I like that. I like that strategy. And this must be why you use my warranty, because you must have really looked into stuff and played the games and figured out that.
Not really, but we'll talk about that.
Well, okay, we'll talk about it. But, you know, for instance, just one thing, because I eat my own dog food, I want you to have something that is unique to you in any business, but especially real estate. You know, a unique thing about my 1-year warranty is that I cover those underground sewer lines. Every single year, tens of thousands of homes have an underground sewer line problem right when somebody moves in, and it's not covered. So if you want to, since you're watching this at home on YouTube, if you're one of those unfortunate agents still using American Home Shield, Old Republic, First American, HMS, 210 Home Buyer's Warranty, any of those, you know, really sucky warranties, go to RWSwarranty.com. All right, so let's see. Oh, here's another one. All right, this is what we call an attic pool in the home inspection business. And it's absolutely amazing what people will do to avoid like actually fixing something. We've seen pools up there like baby pools, the hard plastic ones. We get these tarps. They'll take a hose and contrap something to drain the water out of that, you know, like a funnel to somewhere else. It's very cool stuff. But, you know, an inspector would generally find this. Not always are leaks in roofs this obvious. So here's your next question for home inspection knowledge, because we're supposed to know. We're the people that are supposed to know. Is can a home inspector, true or false, a home inspector can predict a future roof leak? I'll do the question in the right terms. So either true, a home inspector can predict a future roof leak, or false, a home inspector cannot predict a future roof leak. False. We have it, what? True, okay. And anybody say false?
I'm looking for clarification.
Oh, go ahead.
It's inevitable.
Ah,
Be a roof leak at some
we caught me. Yes. Okay. So the answer is kind of false, but then also kind of true. It's you know, and we in home inspection we have so many cool tools now. You know, look, these guys at Blessed Assurance. If you have a crawl space that only has 6 inches of clearance, I don't know if you've met Terry.
He still fits.
But and you know, my dad's not a small dude either, and he's a home inspector. He's been a home inspector since I was 3 years old. You know, it's amazing what these guys can get into and out of. Every once in a while, they'll get stuck in a crawl space backwards, and they'll have to use their cell phones now. But before, they just had to wait for somebody to come and figure out they were stuck in the crawl space. Those were entertaining stories. Getting stuck on the roof in the days before cell phones, and your ladder fell. Anyway. They have all this technology to get there, and then they have infrared cameras and inspectors. It's like they can see through walls now. They can identify so many things. I mean, it's weird, almost creepy weird. And I would say a lot of people say, yeah, true, they can. And the answer is, no, they can't, unless you take out the timing scenario. Like, I can predict every roof is going to leak. In fact, as a home inspector's son, let me look around for a minute here. You know, usually in a room, I can find a problem. And I wasn't really looking for a roof leak because I think we have rooms above us. But you know, along these air ducts that go to these air diffusers, there will be condensation that builds up, and that's why you see on the first floor conference centers a lot of yellow staining on the tiles. Anyway, that's boring mechanical stuff. This is what we see. Home inspectors, gosh, they find little you know, problems with the drywall that you didn't even notice when you were going through. So again, you as the agent, you need to know that every roof will eventually leak, and you need to prepare your client for that. If you have a roof that subjectively, and unfortunately it is subjectively, has very little lifespan on it, your inspection response should involve asking the seller for a new roof, of course. If there's an active leak or evidence of a leak, it should eradicate that issue. But otherwise, make sure that your inspector has a 5-year roof leak protection plan. And I mean this anywhere throughout the US and Canada. Don't use an inspector that doesn't. The minute you do, you put yourself in huge risk of being sued. Because what's really going to happen with a house? You own a home currently?
Yeah.
Yeah? How long you own a home?
Oh, I've owned several homes.
Okay, but you've owned it for a long time. For a long time, you've been a homeowner. Since back when your hair wasn't partially gray.
Yes.
Okay. And in all that time, what's the most expensive thing that you've had to repair that didn't involve an insurable loss, which it's really easy to insure those things. You just talked to Samantha Goodnight here with Farm Bureau. But if it, like that, how I just sneak in the, yes, that's slick. So what's the most expensive thing that didn't involve an insurance claim? Most expensive repair you've done at your home?
Probably just attic mold removal prior to a sale of one of my homes.
Attic mold removal. All right. So that's big stuff, but most people would say the refrigerator, the range, the HVAC system could be a couple $1,000, right?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm very maintenance on top of maintenance.
Understood. But if you had a bad HVAC system, that was going to be, potentially thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That would be a big problem. And in the sandwich area of the home between the foundation and the roof, there's just not a lot of real expensive stuff, if we can be honest about it. Moving on to running faucets. Here's a sink. This water is fine, by the way. It wasn't like the other water picture. This is just, to show that there's water there. Inspectors go around and they're going to fill up sinks and tubs, and they're going to run water for a little while. They're going to make sure that hot water heater, it's a water heater, hot water heater works just fine. But does the inspector check the underground system? So here's your question number 4, and I think we're only going to do 5 here today, and then we're going to send you links for a couple of the other questions that you can do online. But you'll have your CPE certification day. We're going to send you an awesome package, whether you do it here or online. Doesn't matter. You get the same package. Does a home inspection include an inspection of the sewer lines between the home and the sewer and/or septic connections? Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, as an optional add-on. All right. So the answer is no, unless you pay for it, right? Because it's a separate thing. And when we talk about the inspection, we're talking about that scoped out standard inspection. And yeah, let me give you something to write down if you're going to be selling any home anywhere in the U.S. If you have a house that was built prior to 1996, let's use 1996 as the number, you should have a sewer line inspection done. Just every home before 1996. If it's prior to 2006, and I'm saying this in 2018, so add a number if you're listening to this and you're hearing it in 2019. If it's prior to 2006, and there is a big tree in the yard where the sewer lateral is going out, then invest in the sewer camera inspection. If it's post 2006 or you got no big tree and it's post 96, don't get a sewer camera inspection. It's a kind of a waste of money. Honestly, I know they have the sewer camera and that they want to do things for your clients, but I'm hoping Terry will agree with me. We'll see.
One exception.
With one exception.
On a brand new house should be inspected.
Okay, brand new house, good idea to do it, But outside of that, all right, we're just talking normal resale homes here. The chances of you having a problem with that underground line are pretty slim. If you have, it's post 96, doesn't have a tree in the yard, or it's post 2006. And that inspection is how much, roughly?
We only charge $125 with the inspection.
You charge $125 with an inspection. That's incredibly low. That actually changes my numbers. Most sewer camera inspections across the country are between $200 and $300. So in order to get a return on investment for that $200 or $300, it takes more frequency of problems. At $125, I'm doing it on new construction all day long, so that's good. Here's the other thing. If he did an inspection, and let's just say for whatever reason there was no sewer camera inspection done, somebody was trying to save $125 that day. At $125, I almost have to change it to just everyone do a sewer camera inspection on every inspection. It's such a good deal. And let me tell you the reason I say don't do it generally if it's the right kind of house. Because at $300, you're spending your client's money, right? $300 to take a camera down a line and see if there's any problems and show them, if there's no problems, just show them a picture of something really nasty, you know. Nobody wants to see the dumpster at the nice restaurant, you know. They want to see, you know, the white tablecloths. So you're going to do that, and then they're going to be out $300 and you're not likely to find a problem. I know at $125 though, you know, it's a pretty good return on investment. And by the way, when you get that sewer camera done from participating inspectors like Blessed Assurance, the sewer guard policy that comes with every inspection for free extends to 6 to 12 months instead of just for 90 days after the inspection. So again, knowing, because I want claims. If one of your clients moves into a house and they have a sewer line backup, I want to know so that we can pay. I don't want it to be forgotten. I don't want them to forget that this piece of paper exists. I want them to be taken care of. Let me tell you why Sewer Guard works so well and why we have so many claims. I mean, every single day, multiple lines are dug up and fixed under this program. We write about 80,000 Sewer Guard policies a month. Here's why it works. Because failures with sewer lines tend to happen right after a real estate transaction. Anyone have an idea as to why that is? Yes, sir. Change in dynamics of usage of the home. That's exactly right. So let me tell you what those change of dynamics mean. There's a life cycle of a house. House will get bought in, let's just say, the 80s at this point. And you have a brand new family. They have their newborn. They move in the 80s or late 70s, whatever, and they have 4 more kids, and they're in a, you know, an old split bedroom kind of ranch situation, and then they all the kids grow up. Now the kids are moving out, they're having grandkids, and grandma and grandpa stay in the house until, you know, they figure out that the grandkids really aren't going to come back a lot. You know, they stay there for a while thinking it's going to be the house where everybody comes to. And by the time they figure out that it's time to downsize and they call their favorite real estate agent, they poop like once a week, all right, between the two of them. Now, over that period of time, you have, you know, glue joints that weren't exactly perfect. You got different types of piping that might have deteriorated a little bit. And maybe it doesn't really have a huge problem that's a total collapse, but it's like a 50% collapsed pipe. Or we have a little bit of tree roots in it or whatever. Now comes 2018. And a family of 4 buys the house, they move in, and now they're pooping every 5 minutes. Between the house and the street, that plumbing line can hold 150 gallons of water. So if you have a little hole that it can drain out of when, you know, Ethel takes her weekly movement, it's going to work fine for Ethel and Orville. I don't know, I'm looking for old man and old lady names. Every time I say an old lady name, I have to come up with like a new one, you know. Beatrice. Who else? Eugene and Eustace. That's a good one. I might use that one in a future event. So yes, that dynamic change, particularly when we're looking at empty nesters going to whole new, you know, big families. That's a huge thing. You want to make sure when you get an inspection, of all these coverages, do not get an inspection from someone that doesn't have that sewer guard coverage, because otherwise, here's what happens. And this is the worst day for your client and the worst situation you can imagine. You're going to have a client who gets an inspection, does exactly what you told them to do, read a seller's disclosure, read it from start to finish, did exactly what every buyer should do diligently, gets a home warranty from one of those other companies that doesn't cover the underground sewer and water lines, and then they move in and they have a backup. Now their house is full of poo, and they're calling you, and what can you tell them? If you didn't use Blessed Assurance, you didn't use our warranty, you didn't have a sewer camera inspection done, there's no guarantees on this line whatsoever, their house is literally filling with poo. What do you tell them?
Poop happens. Oh, sorry.
Poop happens, that's right. Yeah. No,
They're screwed.
Sorry.
Right, but do you want to tell them, call Roto-Rooter and sorry? Call, you know what? Hold on just a minute, because you got coverage. We need to make sure that you get that coverage that you paid for. That's right. Make sure they get a claim. Make sure if someone is going to have the most disappointing call, and this is a real call that results in real litigation against real estate agents and brokers every single year. Now, it's usually small claims. It's usually for $5,000 to $10,000, but it happens. This one comes up a lot. Make sure it's another agent that gets the call from somebody with poop in their house and gets told tough shit. Make sure it's not you.
Is that a pun?
That's right. Yes, it is. Yes?
Couple questions, actually. One, it doesn't matter what the cause is.
The cause has to be a break in the line or a collapse or a tree root or dirt or any of that.
What about clogs, like baby?
Clogs of baby wipes are technically not covered. So let me tell you that there's a deductible with the sewer guard coverage. The deductible is $300. How do we find out that a line is collapsed often? Because it starts with a clog and then they go and try to unclog it. So by the time they call us and go, oh my gosh, my house is filling with poo. Have you tried to auger the line? Have you made an attempt to clear the line? Well, no. Okay, do that. If it comes back with dirt or tree roots on it, let us know. You've now satisfied your deductible by the time you get done clearing that out or trying to clear it out when it doesn't clear out, and then we come in and do the repair.
Just to clarify,
Make sense?
if I may, because this can and will come up, so, and I want to know. Do we tell them to have it snaked first before they call you guys, or they register the claim first, and then your people will tell them?
It's such a good question, I have to repeat it for the thousands at home. The question was, I'm a real estate agent, I'm very service oriented, and I want my people to call me when they have a problem afterwards. They are calling me because they have a sewer line problem. Do I tell them to get an auger done now, or do I tell them to go ahead and file the claim? The answer is really depending on the time frame. I mean, if it was 2 weeks after the inspection or 3 weeks after the inspection, this is a 90-day policy, folks. They can they can wait a little bit. Go ahead and auger it. You don't have to call us and make that a part of your day. But if it's getting close to the end of that 90-day period, or if you had a sewer camera inspection done and it is 6 or 12 months, if it's getting close to the end of that period, or if you have one of our warranties, which is now 12 to 18 months, if it's getting close to the end of that period, you do have to turn in a claim before the end of a policy period. So no reason to call us unless it's close to the expiry of a policy. Make sense?
Yeah.
It's a detailed, I mean, if you want a safe answer, yeah, call in and get a claim
That's what I
started.
was gonna
Yeah.
say. I think I'd rather just tell them.
Go for it. That's the safe way, a consistent answer, simplified. It's fine. Absolutely fine.
So it has to be a break or tree roots or something like that, because I don't know if you're aware, but a few years ago, in a lot of Metro Detroit neighborhoods, the sewer line and the storm lines are connected,
Sure.
and so there might not have been any.
It's not called connected, it's called a combined sewer system.
sewer
Yes.
system.
And this exists in a lot of municipalities,
Okay.
and especially in areas of town. It's usually in certain areas of town, and generally from the 20s to 40s is when they did it in a lot of areas. But yeah, go on.
So,
Sorry.
so there might not have been a break or tree roots or anything like that, but excessive rain, since they were combined, excessive rain caused backups.
Well, excessive rain was just in the line, so there was just too much water for the line. There's nothing I can do to change that. There's no repair for that.
So
what you will find, interestingly, if we want to test my knowledge on that kind of stuff, what you will find interestingly in some of those homes is a shutoff valve on the line, like in the basement. So you'll have like a floor drain or something where it would come up. That would be the logical place for it to come up, and there will be a big drain line valve that somebody installed, which is, it's totally an illegal installation, but everybody in the neighborhood was like, gosh, every time it rains, our basements fill up. We're gonna all install these giant, like Saw the movie kind of valves. And they have them. You've seen them too, haven't you? Oh yeah. So let's go to this.
That's homeowners then, sewer coverage.
Well, no, it's not homeowners. I'm sorry, that might not be homeowners in that case, because you're talking about a combined sewer system backup. Now, it may not be a homeowner's claim. You'd have to talk to Samantha Goodnight and hope that this doesn't happen either at night or during the day, because it would make for a bad day. But here's the thing. In that scenario, most of these houses that we're talking about that have this issue are generally unfinished basements that have been flooding since they were riding horses to work. So you're probably all right. Just expect the basement to smell a little bit in that one. There's a reasonable expectation. It has character, right? That's how we sell it. Lots of character and mold, but mostly character. So on to this picture, and I want to tell you, this picture makes me very proud because this was the first sewer line we ever dug up for a client. They moved in, they had a problem. Gosh, we knew it happened all the time. We used to deny these claims, and then we changed that policy back in 2006, in 2012. And now we cover them, and I couldn't be happier. I had this situation when I was young in the business about almost 20 years ago now. I took my my warranty calls myself. I would take the orders, I would put in the checks for the deposit, I would print out the policies and run them off to title companies, and I would take claims. And I remember very clearly a claim one day I got from this lady who had bought a house, and she moved in and she had this problem where the dynamics of the system had changed. Her house is filling with poo. And I said with a smile on my face that isn't covered because all of these other warranties, other than residential warranty services, stop their coverage at the perimeter of the home. They're done. Sorry, folks. The most expensive plumbing line, not covered. And I said not covered. And I was happy about it that day because my mission when I was 18 doing this was to pay my bills, and like start a family and all of that stuff. Then later on, my mission was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about her, but I've made this story up in my mind where she's like a single mom with 4 kids. She just moved in, spent all her money, and then I just made her day worse. And I felt bad about it for a long time. So that's why we came up with that. And without, folks like Blessed Assurance Home Inspections, we could not deliver it to the people that we do. So keep that in mind and support them for that. Here's the other thing. By standards, inspectors are not required to inspect any underground items. Doesn't matter whether it's sewer line or otherwise. Here's another thing, just a real quick kind of interesting note about the SOPs is, I say SOPs, that means standards of practice. They actually added this line to almost every single one in the country. That's very interesting. It says inspectors are not required to offer warranties or guarantees of any kind. Let me make sure you understand fully what your clients get if they use an inspector that doesn't have sewer guard protection, 5 years of roof leak protection, a 90-day warranty, an underground sewer and water line policy. If they're not using that, they will be forcing your client, as a part of the process, to sign an agreement that says that inspections include virtually nothing and have virtually zero liability, in some cases only the inspection fee back. By the time you add up all these coverages that like Blessed Assurance and some of the top inspection companies all across the country do, we're talking about $25,000 worth of coverage versus here's your $300 back or $500 back, right? It's so horribly inconsistent, and so many agents are unaware. And I can only imagine that they're unaware because we're only involved in 20% of real estate transactions or less, folks. What's going on with the other 80%? It's crazy, right? Yes?
Just to back up, no pun intended, on those sewer guards.
Yeah.
What was the deductible on that?
Deductible's $300.
Okay, and then what is the maximum it will cover when you have the backhoe there? What's the maximum amount?
The total coverage on sewer guard is $4,000. Half of that is for the sewer, half of it is for the water line. Now, let me tell you what that means.
$7,000 job, then.
Well, let's talk about that because the question is, and it's a good question, what if it's a $7,000 job? Let me tell you what the typical sewer line claim looks like when we're talking about the, quote, $7,000 job. And this goes into what we do as a warranty company. So, if you have in front of you that warranty thing, where is it? Good for you opening your stuff, being real attentive, whatever. All right, so if you look at this warranty policy, this is what I sell primarily. This is my primary business. I get asked sometimes, why do people buy warranties? And the simple answer is that real estate agents want them to have warranties. So 90% of all real estate transactions are including these. Now, why is it that nearly 100% of my clients that have been with me for 3 years renew for life, for the life of their own ownership of the home? And that's a true number. I'd be happy to show anyone. Want to come down to my office in Carmel, Indiana? I'll show you our renewal numbers year by year. 3 years and beyond, virtually 100% renew. And here's why. We don't have a process of a simple financial transaction. It's not like homeowners insurance, which is great, by the way, especially when you're with Samantha Goodnight of Farm Bureau Insurance. Because everything on her list is, by definition, catastrophic and rare. So I'm not suicidal. I'm willing to pay $1,000 so that when my $300,000 house burns down because I pissed somebody off or whatever, that it gets rebuilt. That's simple. It's not like Farm Bureau gets me a better deal on rebuilding the house, right? They don't have like people ready, a network of home rebuilding contractors. But with warranty, it's a little bit different. We have a 4-part process with every single claim. So the first thing is service. Your client has a problem, how can we help them find the right service contractor or go in network if it's our 1-year warranty. Then we get into diagnosis, because most contractors, and gosh, if I did a hidden camera show on contractors, it would shock you. Almost every diagnosis I ever get from outside of network with certain service types is a misdiagnosis. So then, you know, what all do we need to do? That's the next question. Then the third question that we answer and that we try to protect customers from is bad pricing, overcharging. Oh, I mean, we're talking overcharging in ways where a lot of plumbers want to be at $350 an hour. Then the fourth thing is the coverage. So let me give you in terms of that. So in the context of those four things now, let's talk about a sewer line claim, and this is very typical. Somebody will call us and say, I had a backup, I had a problem, I called Roto-Rooter, or I called, you know, one of these other companies with a rooter in their name, and they said that I need to replace my line, it's going to be $7,000. And we say, okay, send us the documentation with a diagnosis and estimate for the repair. Here's what we get almost every time. You need a new line, $7,000. That's their diagnosis and estimate. It's like, really? Right. I mean, so how much work really went into that for them? You know, not much. So then the next interaction we have with the client will be, okay, you have what we call a replacement only. I'm going to sell you and pay for all of my kids' college tuition for the next couple months plumber. So you need to get a repair estimate. We need to know so that we can adjust your claim, because we don't owe you a whole line. We owe you where it broke. And a lot of times where you look at where it broke, you could replace a 10-foot segment for $2,000, right? Yeah, he's the contractor, he knows. So by the time I get the kind of contractor who will actually give me a diagnosis and go, yep, 15 feet away from the house, we got 6 to 10 feet of line, cool, that's a $2,000 problem all day long. Now, let's assume that I get the right guy in there to bid that repair. Maybe he bids it at $1,500, maybe it's $3,000, but still $2,000 is going to cover almost all of them, and a few of them might go a little bit beyond. By the time you consider deductible, it's negligible. Still a much better day than, sorry, this is just the cost of home ownership. Now let's go into what actually happens after that. A good percentage of those folks, by the time they get the right contractor that's willing to bid that repair, now they have a more reasonable replacement estimate too to back that up. And then we're having the real conversation with them. Hey, it's never going to be cheaper to replace your whole line than right now. Here's your $2,000 check. You can take it towards a whole replacement. So we start with that $7,000 retail bid. We go into, okay, there's a $2,000 solution, but there's a guy willing to do the thing for $4,000. So they went from $7,000 down to $2,000 in their mind. And that's very real, happens every day.
Just to clarify, now let me ask you something else. You guys recommend a contractor? Do you have relationships with contractors that will do it?
So on the sewer line coverage, we do not send out our own plumbers, just to be clear. We don't have enough of those claims. The frequency of those claims isn't high enough to justify a network.
Okay, all right, sure.
You give me a 1-year warranty, one of your clients, and they have a heat out today in Detroit, we'll get a contractor there, right? That's simple.
But to your point of it's never going to be cheaper than replacing the whole line now, that if that were me, my house, and I would advise my client, you have the one problem here, it can happen again further up line or down line.
Yep.
So they'll get the credit to do the actual fix once we discern what that fix is through sewer guards, okay? Then they can pay out of pocket to replace the rest of it. Is that what I'm hearing?
I hope everyone's hearing this. Yes, you're exactly right.
Okay.
Because the scenario that she's playing out is a scenario that will likely happen. If you sell enough homes, you're going to run into some sort of problem that your client has.
Down here, it's going to be cracked up there potentially.
And you're going to be the one that has the right answer for the client. And how do you think that's going to play into your referral situation later on? I can already tell you're a firecracker, but you know it's going to do you even better, right? I mean, you're no Patty.
No, I'm also an investor, so I've been through some of these lovely things.
All right, so I have another question for you guys. Let's see, here it is. How old does an HVAC system need to be in order to be defective based solely on age? Defective, it has to, in order to be defective based solely on age. Is the answer 15 plus years old, 20 plus, or 25 plus? Call out and answer if you got one. 25. None of the above, none of the above. Wow. This is a great room. Okay, you guys have been taught way too well by your home inspectors around here. This is a boiler that we have under warranty up in the Northeast. We've had it under warranty for 7 or 8 years now. It was built in like 1913. It's like, I mean, some really old boiler. It's old. It could be from the 30s, but it's old. Works just fine. A lot of these parts are still replaceable component parts. No big deal. So, you know, this is what I wanted to get at though. Number one, there is nothing that says a particular component is defective based solely on age, unless you get into roof coverings and, you know, things of that nature. But on HVAC in particular, since that is the most expensive thing in the sandwich of the home, let me tell you something that agents do so wrong all the time and how to avoid it. When they respond to the HVAC side and that inspector put in that little, oh, the unit's older, it's a little dirty, I can't get a clear view of the heat exchanger. You know, they start putting in these code phrases for, you need to watch out for this HVAC system. It probably has a problem. I can't see it, so I can't say it because it would destroy the credibility of the whole inspection report, but dang, you probably have a problem. Know those phrases. If you don't know those phrases, talk to your inspector and find out what those phrases are for BIM. They're always a little different. Here is the phrase you need to know though, and I am going to go ahead and just pass this around the room if you don't mind. Anybody who is here, by the way, I'm just gathering your information to send you this CPE certification documents. I will send you this in writing as well as a part of that package. Here's what your HVAC response is, and I wrote this up myself. I've never had an issue come back from an agent that used this line. Have it all the time with the agents that use the, oh, seller to have the HVAC system cleaned and tuned. Okay, well that's not going to do anything. That's $79 for somebody ignoring problems. Buyer requests seller to have a qualified HVAC professional service the HVAC system, do a thorough inspection of all components, delivering to buyer prior to closing a written diagnosis and estimate, and a statement that the HVAC company from the HVAC company along with a paid invoice documenting all of the items that were repaired. That's what we want. We want to know that this system is in good working order. We want an HVAC company to have their name on that statement. And for those of you that pulled out your phones, feel free to take a picture. You don't have to wait for the email, but I promise it'll be sent to you. It always makes me happy when people take pictures of this one. I want your liability to be less, right? For many of you, I may be responsible for your E&O deductible. This will keep us both out of trouble. All right, let's go to the next question here because it's getting into time when we should like have lunch because you're going to get a free lunch for being here. Let's see. Which building code applies to a home? All right, there are three options, and if you've had a lot of home inspections, you've probably seen that there are line items, and some of them are relative to code. And might have some, something that somebody even says about a code. But inspectors generally stay away from the word code, which is a little bit silly, but we'll let them. That's fine. Which code, though, applies to the house that you have listed or that your buyers are looking at? Is it the current code adopted by your state or municipality? Is it the code from the year the house was built or improved? Or is it the code of Hammurabi? Number three, the code of Hammurabi is what you're going with. What is it? The current code? Anybody else? What?
The year it was built.
The year it was built or improved. Okay, here's the...
Well, it depends. Is there a transaction taking place or are you the original owner?
It doesn't matter. All right, here's... No, I'm sorry. Look, as somebody who deals with the Code Council directly, I'm sorry, you're wrong again. I will help you with this, though. We're going to be a great team, Bert.
George.
All right, so let's start with the one it's not, okay? Because we can all agree it's not. The Code of Hammurabi was there, I think it was, what, 5?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, it was... Right, so this was not a building code. 500 years before there were ever 10 commandments written in anything, there was a Code of Hammurabi. And just to summarize what the Code of Hammurabi said, it was the first known building code. I wish they would have just changed it and just added to it with amendments. It said basically if someone builds a home for someone else and it falls and it kills them, then that builder shall be put to death. That's what it said. But that's not the code that we go by. We go by the, here we go. We go by the code from the year the home was built or improved. That's the only thing that we can do to say, here's a standard. And think about that. That makes sense, right? If a house was built in 1994, and at that point in time, a GFCI receptacle was required at the kitchen sink or within 6 feet of the kitchen sink, or anything that is serving a countertop or in a basement or in a garage. If that is the thing that was required then, well, we should still find those safety items if we inspect it in 2016. That makes sense, right? But if we have a house from 1930 that doesn't even have 3-prong receptacles, has 2-prong receptacles, at what point were they required to flip those out to 3-prong receptacles and add grounding and add GFCI protection? There's no building inspector that walks around town and says, hey, your old house, fix it. That guy doesn't exist. Now, in the transaction, if you have a home inspector tell you for a buyer that tries to use his inspection to say, here's some safety issues. Okay, there's safety issues. I'm not saying I want my kids around a bathtub with a 2-prong outlet. I don't. I'm going to improve that, and that's a great idea. But when it comes to an inspector saying, gosh, you need to fix this by improving it and using that inspection report, know as the listing agent that that doesn't need to happen. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was taking it a step further because not in terms of what the inspector will maybe tell us that it's not current code, but it's not an issue unless it's an FHA loan and it's something like a GFCI.
Right.
Or in terms of some municipalities require smoke alarms that they might not be.
There are certainly circumstances, and again, we got a storyteller lady, you just edited her out. There's certainly circumstances, but I'm talking just about the building code, right? So if we're talking about a building code, and by the way, here's the biggest challenge though, one of the many reasons home inspectors don't go into code. How do you know what year the home was built or improved? Anybody got an answer to that?
Yeah, go to the building department and look in the
Go to the building department and you will find inaccurate information in every courthouse in America. Let me tell you that, and the codes, different codes get adopted on different intervals too, but again, that adopted code is identifiable. I can tell you which code was adopted in this municipality in 1996. That one's pretty easy. But when was the permit done? When was the inspection done? When was the completion date? And based on which code applies? Not many people know the answer to that question. Let me give you another challenge. Let's say that someone was building a house and the documentation was just done wrong and it got stamped. Well, it's going to show a year wasn't real. So let me give you a little real estate agent trick to figuring out when a house was built. Anybody know how to figure out when a house was built?
look at the tail light.
Tail light. You're getting close. It doesn't have a tail light really. That's more of a car kind of thing, and I'm not sure how looking at your tail light gets you anything. The toilet tank lid, right? You turn that over. Did he show you that trick?
He just told me.
He just told you? Why would you tell her? I was sitting here educating. And you're feeding her the answers. That's what you've been doing the whole time? All right, it's all good. It's all good. All right, so I'm going to...
What if the toilets have been replaced?
Well, if the toilets have been replaced, then that is not a reliable way to know.
Is there another way to know besides that?
Nope, at that point you're back to the same lack of specificity that we had before. Yes, sir. Michael Cohen, everyone.
How do you define improved?
Oh, how do I define improved? I don't define improved. The municipality would have to define improved. Okay. And in many cases, and we're going to keep one conversation if you don't mind, because we're about to wrap it up. In many cases, that improvement will be also coincide with a permit, right? Okay. So if you pull a permit, then somebody's going to come by and do an inspection, or at least there's the threat that they might stop by to do an inspection. And other than that, it's kind of an on your honor thing. I mean, if you go through and you replace outlets in your house, even if it's just to switch out a color or whatnot, and you go out to switch out an outlet where now a GFCI receptacle is required, technically you're supposed to upgrade it. Even if you're a weekend warrior with, a $2 set of pliers and 3 outlets in your hand and a plastic bag from Lowe's. Or Menards or Home Depot. We love all 3 of you. We're going to be you're going to be our retailers soon, and we appreciate all of you. Not just giving Lowe's an endorsement, because this is going to be on YouTube. You have to worry about what you say these days, right, Michael Cohen?